Welcome to the Gooner channel. Thank you for joining me in what is an incredibly difficult time to be an Arsenal fan. I would forgive you if you didn't want to have anything to do with football whatsoever. There are 3 games left to this season, a season which is just disappointing. After 2 years of nearly winning the league and the first season we were challenging for the title, we let it slip because of nerves, and I thought, you know what, we'll learn from this, we'll come back stronger. We did come back stronger to some degree. We went all the way to the wire last season, but just couldn't do it against a Man City juggernaut. And I think we all felt like if Man City falter, then we will be there to capitalise. So the fact that they have faltered this season and we still aren't in a position to capitalise, Liverpool haven't really broken a sweat to win the league this season. They are deserved champions because that's the only way you win the league. We haven't been good enough. And you could look at the summer transfer window where we thought we'd been so close last season, maybe just needed a few extra pieces to get us over the line. And we signed Marino and Calafiori. Nobody hates those signings, I'm pretty sure, although there is a lot of talk now that Calafiori might already be on his way. Had a tough time with injuries, but he's not the only Arsenal player to come and have a tough time with injuries. We just never really got going. Disappointment of going out to Man United in the FA Cup at home to penalties. Lackluster performance that it was. Not turning up at all when we had a chance to make the final of the League Cup. And some silverware at this point would definitely help, wouldn't it? So the fact that we just didn't turn up in either game against Newcastle and just couldn't capitalise on any of the few slips that Liverpool made in the league, saw us knowing pretty much from the end of January, beginning of February, the end of the January transfer window, and we all kind of knew we weren't going to win the Premier League. And the fact that in that January transfer window, all right, look, Edu had left in November, but we were told that Jason Ato had been working on all these deals with him and could get any of the deals they'd been working on over the line on his own, and then didn't. So you do wonder, do we know what's going on? And we all knew we needed a striker. Ollie Watkins was possible, but we thought he was too expensive. I think Marino did a fantastic job up front, far better than any of us expected. But with Havertz injured, Jesus injured, Bukayo Saka's injury, surely with Sterling not having been the player that we'd hoped he'd be. I really thought Sterling was not the worst decision in the world. The final day of the transfer window and we bring him in. I thought, he's got a great pedigree, a great career behind him. Unfortunately, that's exactly where it is, right? It's behind him. And we haven't paid his full wages, but he'll have played under 500 minutes in the Premier League this season with 2 assists to show for it. It's been abject. So not having done any business in the January transfer window has begun this disappointment, this disenchantedness, this feeling, this malaise. The Arsenal fan base has to be asking itself. The Arsenal fan base is asking itself. We are asking ourselves, why did we not make an effort? You don't get close to winning things like the Premier League often. So when you do, invest the money. But it didn't happen. I could understand to some degree people saying, well, who are we going to bring in at this point that would have made a meaningful difference? But when you see Aston Villa bringing in 3 forwards, you do think Asensio might have made the difference. Certainly would have been great to have him against Paris Saint-Germain. But through all of that, disappointment, not quite getting over the line, we still had the Champions League. And look, no one really gave us hope against Real Madrid. I wasn't particularly confident. Those 2 games will stand out forever. They're a huge achievement to get to the semi-final. Beating the holders, Real Madrid, with a team full of Galacticos, plenty of forwards in that team, in both games, home and away, absolutely outstanding performances, gave us all rejuvenated hope, which fell apart pretty much in the first 4 minutes of the home game against PSG in the semi-finals. Now, look, I'm not taking anything away at all from the achievement of getting to the semi-finals. After all, Mikel Arteta is only the second man in history of our club to get us to the semi-finals of the Champions League. And he did that only his second attempt. Last season's quarter-final was disappointing, but getting to the quarterfinals was great. I mean, it was more than I think most of us had expected at the start of the season. It was a capitulation to Bayern Munich that hurt so much. At least this time going out to PSG, I felt like we gave it some. And for the first 20 minutes at the Parc des Princes, we really played better than almost anyone has played against PSG. And look, I want to address this straight away. Mikel Arteta straight after the game saying that he thought we'd been the better team. It's just nonsense. You don't have to get into a debate about this. He was asked, and I think in his last press conference, he's kind of addressed it. Yes, you can say we had better XG. We didn't score as many goals as them, and we lost both games. PSG were the better team. I think they're going to go on and win it. Luis Enrique is the better manager. There's not a debate to be had around this. But what do you expect when you shove a camera in somebody's face right after their most disappointing defeat of the career, probably, and ask some questions? I think he was just saying what he felt, and on reflection, he probably concedes it's wrong. Luis Enrique, I would agree with when he came out and said, no, I don't think Arsenal were the better team. Yes, you can say that the game, their keeper was the man of the match, and he was outstanding. Donnarumma is I think he must be a witch, and I think he should be banned as one. But fair play, that's what it takes. That's what it takes to get to the final of the Champions League. It is very, very difficult. It's a huge achievement. The problem is when you say that getting to the semi-finals is a huge achievement, it's not one that you ever really remember fondly. No one ever talks about 2009 and the achievement of getting to the semi-finals. We would almost certainly have gotten beaten by the Barcelona team that beat Man United that year. But we don't talk about it because it's a semi-final. Now, we will most likely talk for some time about the two games against Real Madrid and our record against Real Madrid in the Champions League. But it's not enough. It's really not enough. So how have we got here? And is this the end or nearly the end of the Arteta story? Look, for all of the discussion points around whether Arteta is or is not the right man for Arsenal, I think we can all agree that whatever our opinions, and I still don't think it's a majority of Arsenal fans that would sack him. I am running a poll on it, so I would love you to vote on that. And last time I ran a poll, it was about 28% of Arsenal fans on YouTube that felt that it was time for Arteta to go. Probably going to be higher than that now, but still not majority. So can we all accept that they've brought Andrea Berta in and that he's coming in to work with Arteta? Arteta's got a year. If it goes horribly wrong at the start of next season, maybe not. But all eyes now are on our transfer window, because God help us, this summer is going to be intolerable if we have a bad transfer window and the worst thing happens and Tottenham end up winning European silverware. Can't even begin to tell you how difficult that would be to live with. Is this the beginning of the end, or is it just the end of the beginning for Mikel Arteta? And I want to address a couple of the points, and they're really more questions I've got rather than answers. I don't have the answers, you should know that by now, but perhaps you do, and I want to hear from you. The first thing that we can say about Mikel Arteta is that he probably should never have been hired, right? Certainly at the time he was hired, I wasn't very pleased at all. I was worried when he was mooted when we hired Unai Emery, because I didn't rate him that much as a player. I know he won 2 FA Cups with us as a player, and he was captain, but he didn't do anything I wasn't a massive Arteta fan. I had nothing against him, but, surely a club our size, and this is the point, isn't it? Arsenal Football Club is conservatively estimated to be worth £3 billion. Mikel Arteta has no track record or experience whatsoever. We turn over £600 million a year and have the 9th largest fan base. You wouldn't expect a team of our size in global football just to go and pick someone who's never done it before. In the live stream last week, somebody said, what's Arteta's CV that he got this job? And I was like, he doesn't have a CV. This is his graduate program. He's come out of, admittedly, graduating from the University of Pep Guardiola at Man City, where they won a couple of league titles together, and he was his right-hand man, and must have learned a lot and must know a lot about football anyway. But the fact that Mikel Arteta got offered the Arsenal job disappointed me back then, and it looked like it was a bad decision for a long time. Obviously, he did win the FA Cup in his first not quite full season, but that, you know, even that was beating Chelsea's great. The fact it was delayed because of COVID made it kind of weird. Played behind, well, with no fans there. That was played without fans present. It was a weird FA Cup to win. But it was great. You know, we did win it. Having said that, though, we had won 3 in the previous 6 years. So as Arsenal fans, at least back then, we kind of got used to winning cups. Even with teams that weren't performing in the league, we just win cups. It's our cup. So that brought him some credit. Now, certainly beating Man City that brought him some credit. Certainly the way we got to the final against expectations, beating good teams, and then beating Chelsea in the finals was good. So, but it wasn't just Mikel Arteta that was signed with no experience. If you go all the way back to Per Mertesacker being given the academy role, head of the academy, and by his own admission when he got the job, he said, "Look, I have no experience. I am a strange hire." I'm not going to get into whether I think that's working out or not. That's for another day. But then in the summer before Unai Emery is discharged from his position and Arteta brought in, we hired Edu as a technical director. Now, I don't really know what a technical director does now or then. So it didn't really bother me. And he is, after all, an invincible. So fair's fair. Make jobs for past players. By all means, ones that have become legends. But that meant that in the footballing side of our esteemed club, the top positions were taken by people with no experience whatsoever. And we were in a position at that time where it was a bit hopeless. We couldn't qualify for Europe, let alone be worried about not making the final of the Champions League. Attendances were down, performance was bad, captains throwing their armband around, defenders, more than just a bit bozo moment, some of the defending we were doing. In comes Arteta, and you have to say, on reflection, whether you're an Arteta in or out, you might not think he's done quite enough, but you have to say, you probably wouldn't have backed him to get us to the semi-finals of the Champions League. You probably wouldn't have expected him to get us to second place in the Premier League. And that's not me saying second is good enough. I'm not doing that before somebody starts shouting standards at me. But I do think that I am prepared to say that having not wanted him to be manager, I do think he was the right choice. And the story is that when we hired Unai Emery, Stan Kroenke wasn't convinced. He actually wanted to give the job to Mikel Arteta. But everyone said to him, you can't hire someone with no experience, however good the vision is and however much you believe in this individual. Stan Kroenke really liked Arteta, so when it turned out not to have worked with Unai Emery, he said to himself, look, I'm not going to listen to anyone else. It's my bloody club and I'll do what I want. And I kind of think I'd be the same, to be honest. Arsenal is not a democracy. However much you want Stan Kroenke to do something, he gets the final say. He lets his son run it. But it all takes me to another point, actually. The other point is that, the other big criticism of Arteta is, well, look, he's spent a lot of money. And he has spent a lot of money. But he spent a lot of money to completely transform us from a side that couldn't challenge to one that is challenging. And challenging may not be enough for you, but surely if we spend some money this summer and we end up winning something, everyone will be happy. It's Arsenal though, isn't it? So probably everyone won't be happy, but all the people that matter will be happy. But when you say he spent a lot of money, in net transfer spend terms, we are, since he took over, the third highest net spending club in the Premier League. Now, one of the reasons for that is because Manchester City spent all their money before he came, and now they're starting to spend money again. I imagine they'll overtake us pretty quickly. But we are going to have a massive summer transfer window. We might spend 300 million this summer. Who knows? But certainly Chelsea, who've spent 760 million net. This is after you account for players sold. They probably win the Conference League, I know. That doesn't mean they're having a better season than us. They're probably going to squeak into the Champions or stay in the Champions League places. And as I am making this video, we are second. I know it's going to be a tall order to stay there. We play Liverpool on Sunday, and I'm not I'm not hopeful. We've got Newcastle at home after that, and then Southampton away. So 4 points from the next 3 games. I think we're safe for Champions League qualification. And at this point, I don't massively care if we finish 2nd, 3rd, 4th or 5th. It's all Champions League qualification. So Manchester United have spent more than us, and I mean they'll be lucky to finish 13th this season. Tottenham have spent 3 million less than us. So I don't know if I think that Arteta has spent a lot of money. But I'm really glad with the team we've got. I don't think the team that we put out, when I think of David Raya in goal, Timber, Gabriel, Saliba, Miles Lewis-Skelly left back. I mean, I do want to see him in midfield. But he's been brilliant. Had a tough game against Paris Saint-Germain. But that's fair enough, isn't it? Your first full season, semi-finals of the Champions League. I look at the midfield and I know people have lots to say about Martin Odegaard. I don't think I've said that properly. I'll keep trying. But Thomas Partey's having a great season. He's an Arteta signing. And Declan Rice. Declan Rolls-Royce. Cheap at twice the price. Brilliant signing. Kai Havertz still divides opinion. Jesus, not the striker everyone wanted. But these have all lifted us, if not quite to where we want to be. I don't think we need a total rebuild, but we do need to bring in some talent this summer. We need a left winger to challenge Martinelli. Trossard looks like he's leaving. We don't need to say it, but we need some attacking players. I'm not going to say it. So to the criticism that Arteta spent a lot of money, he has spent a lot of money, but he's got a lot of value for it. Ben White, Urian Timber, Gabriel, Declan Rice. I mean, there's great players in our team, whatever you think of Martin Odegaard. So I don't mind. I don't think he spent that much money, and I don't think that's a fair criticism. But it does lead us to the very angry criticism that's often levelled at him. Why hasn't he bought a striker? We need a striker. There, I said it and I promised I wouldn't. But why hasn't he bought a striker? Can I just make a point here? Mikel Arteta plays a central role in identifying the needs and desired player profiles. He collaborates closely with the recruitment team to ensure that new signings fit his tactical vision. That's the manager's job. He isn't a first-team coach, he's a manager. He does have some say in who we bring in. But we've now brought in Andrea Berta as sporting director. Previously it was Edu. And his role now, as Edu's was before, is to oversee the club's overall transfer strategy. So he coordinates between the scouting, analytics and financial departments to facilitate player acquisition. It's his job, right? Jason Nato, who is his assistant, briefly was the acting sporting director, didn't sign anyone, so I'm not sure really what he was doing, but hopefully working on deals for the summer. But he's the liaison between the sporting director and the other departments, and he has a background in scouting and data analysis, manages the day-to-day recruitment activities and initial communications with the players' agents, things like that. Then there's James Ellis, and James Ellis's job is head of recruitment. So he leads the scouting department, focuses on identifying the signings across various leagues, evaluates players for their potential fit, personality, strategic value to the club, that sort of thing. Then you've got an entire scouting and analytics team, and we employ a data-driven approach and have our own in-house analytics company, which is StatDNA, and I'm really glad we do. But this is a team of people that analyse a player's statistics, performance metrics, and all the other data that's germane to recruitment. Then you've got Richard Garlick, and he's the Director of Football Operations, and he handles negotiations and ensures compliance with the league's regulations. He works closely with the legal and financial teams to finalise player contracts, salary structures, things like that. Tim Lewis is the non-executive director. He oversees all the financial aspects of a transfer, and he provides final approval on major expenditure. So he makes sure that our spending is in alignment with our financial strategies. Like I said, he gets final say because he signs the checks. But he signs them on behalf of Stan and Josh Kroenke. And obviously, if they're not happy with a spend of any amount, and these are all significant spends we're talking about, certainly something like the Declan Rice transfer or something like that to happen this summer, they have to say yes or no to it. So all of these people are responsible for transfers. Even if Mikel Arteta was saying, I don't want a striker, surely, I've gone through a big list of people there, surely some of these people have something to say about it, no? How can it just be Mikel Arteta's fault we didn't sign a striker? In January, unlike Arteta, who does know which side his bread's buttered and does not call out the club, a lot of fans say, oh, he's a yes man. I was like, you know what? If you're a very highly paid person doing a job you love with a chance to really build a career for the future, you probably don't spend a lot of your time slagging off your bosses. It doesn't really work in any line of work. It doesn't really work in any job. But Arteta does not oversee the selection of players. He might have some ideas, but he's doing the day-to-day running of the club. He's doing the day-to-day running of the football team. We have this many people involved because it's a big job. Since Andrea Berta's come in as well, all I've really seen is people talking about signing Victor Gyökeres. I could suggest that. I can pick him. He's got really good numbers, plays in Portugal. Players who've played in Portugal come over and do quite well. He isn't, by the way, the player I would sign. But we are looking at a big summer transfer. And despite everyone talking about how we need to sign a big level striker, you never really hear them mentioning one by name. It's also true for all the people who want to sack Arteta. For all of the people who want to sack Arteta, and you may well be one, you don't get a lot of people telling you who they'd bring in. You get Diego Simeone. He's not interested. I hate to break it to everybody, but whilst we are a big club, I don't know if there's that many managers out there that are desperate to come and manage us, that are proven winners at the highest level. After all, Ancelotti's going off to take the Brazil job. Diego Simeone isn't going anywhere. Simone Inzaghi is not going anywhere. He's at Inter. He's very happy. He might win Serie A again. I don't know who it is everyone wants to replace Arteta with. I like Iraola at Bournemouth. I really do. But that's another risk, starting from scratch. I don't know. There's a chance Arteta could be headhunted by Real Madrid. You just don't know. But in any case, blaming Mikel Arteta for not signing a striker when in the January transfer window he was starting to agitate for one and saying, look, we are short of players. We need players. I'm sure he's made his thoughts on that clear. Repurposing Merino as a striker cannot have been his first choice idea. So the other criticisms of Mikel Arteta are that he is tactically naive, which I think is fair. We don't really have a recognisable plan B. But we do really well. You don't get to the semi-finals of the Champions League with the kind of results. After all, we were third in the league table after 8 games played. We hammered PSV. We beat Real Madrid both legs. I mean, we've had some good games in the Champions League. Ultimately, all for nothing because we didn't win. And nowadays, all anyone cares about is winning. But you can say that Arteta's tactically naive, but at the same time, he's not dreadful. All right? I know that we all want him to be a little bit more proactive off the bench. That's a given. But then you look at his bench and think it's really only Ethan Nwaneri. And, you know, part of that is going to be Arteta's fault. He does play a part in the transfers, but we didn't really do enough in the summer and we got caught out and we didn't do anything in January. And I feel like January was a case of, well, what's the point now? It's done. And I hate that because we did get to the semi-finals. And who knows? Our biggest problem in the game against Paris Saint-Germain was we didn't score. And there were a couple of chances where we might have done. Odegaard's shot that was saved by Donnarumma, like that's just, I don't know what else he could have done with that shot. But Declan Rice's free header, maybe if there's someone there to put those chances away, maybe just one chance would have made all the difference. We did outperform for XG after all. But Mikel Arteta is stubborn off the bench. He does persist with things that the rest of us don't think make sense. Thomas Partey at right back. There are definitely improvements. But one final thing I want to say on this is, how long do you give someone? None of us are sitting here saying Arteta has a job for life. Most of us concede that if we have another season like this one next season, even if we get to the semi-finals of the Champions League, it will be time to say goodbye. Some people, it's just not in their story arc to get over that line. You can be great as a manager, but winning the Premier League, there's only 12 men in history that have ever won the Premier League as a manager. The Champions League, this is rarefied air. This is very difficult to do, and it's not meant as a huge criticism. If Arteta doesn't manage it, that doesn't make him a bad manager. It just doesn't make him a great manager. And Arsenal, we need a great manager now, don't we? Hopefully it is Mikel Arteta. I know the tide is turning very much against him because we are bearing the weight of frustration, and Tottenham might win silverware, and Man United or Tottenham are definitely going to win silverware. Man United have won silverware consistently despite being increasingly toilet. Would you rather be Man United? I know there's people out there would. I'm not judging, I'm asking. Would you rather be Man United? The other criticisms of Arteta, I feel like he is moving in the right direction. The fact that we've played Wanyeri and Miles Lewis-Skelly this season does, I think, show that he's prepared to give youth a chance. And he's been talking about Max Dowman in the press conferences. I mean, it's very early for him, but you never know. So maybe you do think that Mikel Arteta's had long enough. And if you feel like that, then you're just going to have to be patient, because I think we all know that Stan Kroenke isn't there yet. They've just given him a new contract. They've given the coaching staff a new contract. They've brought Andrea Berta in to work with him. I would dearly love us to deal with our disappointment this season in a different way from just finger pointing at. I would dearly love us as Arsenal fans to stop just blaming Arteta for everything and move on, and with some hope for the transfer window. I wanted to open a debate. I want to hear from you what you think. If I haven't covered a negative of Arteta's, if I haven't covered a negative you think about Arteta, or if you've got some positive things to say that I haven't mentioned yet, please do get involved in the comments and join us for the next live. Until I see you then, be lucky. Lots of love.